Welcome to the Daughter Arise YouTube channel. My name is Yvonne and this channel is all about bringing you content to do with childhood sexual abuse. On this channel I share things to do with my experience of going through this childhood trauma. I also share news stories and have my thoughts and commentary to them, and from time to time, when I'm fortunate enough, I do interview other survivors and their supporters in hopes of raising awareness of this childhood abuse. So if this is the type of content you're looking for, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss any uploads, and if you do like the content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. So in today's video, guys, I want to share with you a post I came across on TikTok as I was scrolling. And for me, it did trigger a bad memory for me to do with my abuse. But I'm so thankful to God that even now, when a memory might come up, it doesn't trigger negative feelings that used to come with the memory. It doesn't cause me to be depressed or go backwards or regress into myself like it used to many years ago. This picture triggered a memory for me that wasn't very nice. Now, the picture is totally innocent. It's a beautiful picture. It shows the innocence of how a child and their relationship with their parents should be. But for me, my parents' bed was not a safe space. It wasn't a safe place for me. And that is what triggered the memory, because as I've mentioned in my book Daughter Arise, my autobiography that I released in 2010 about my experience of going through childhood sexual abuse and what happened to me in the aftermath. If you are interested in getting that book, I will leave a link to it in the description box below. I mentioned that the very first time that my dad sexually abused me was in my parents' bed. I have shared that, I lied to stay off school and said I was sick because I wanted to spend time with my mum. And instead of my mum staying home, she had to go to work. My dad offered to stay home and look after me. Now, usually as children, my dad wouldn't stay home and look after us when we were sick. It would always usually be my mum. But I didn't think anything bad of it at the time. I did think it was a bit off, but not in a dangerous way to think something was wrong. Anyway, as I've shared in my book, I was downstairs watching TV. I hear my dad call me upstairs. As I go upstairs and I knock on my parents' bedroom door, my dad asks me to come in. And when I go into the room, my dad is in their bed, my parents' bed, and he asks me to get in the bed. He's naked in the bed and he R-words me. That was the first time my dad sexually abused me. It was one of the most horrific and traumatizing experiences of my life. The whole of my abuse was, actually, but the very first time that happened, it just changed something in me to this day that I can still not put into words. What my dad did to me that first time he R-worded me in, him and my mum's bed. So for me, my parents' bed has never been a safe space, and it always brings back, when I think about it, very sad memories for me, because it was the start of my life changing in a very traumatic way. But then it got me thinking as well, when I saw this picture, about what is one child's safe space is another child's nightmare. Because after I started to think about that memory about the first time I was abused, I then started to think about what it must be like for other children. And there are loads of children out there where their parents' bed is not a safe space. In my book, Choose Life, which I released in January 2019, it's an awareness book and a book where I put a lot of research into showing other survivors' experiences. A piece of research that was done within 6 Caribbean islands within the Caribbean, 6 different islands, about children who are now adults, their experiences of childhood sexual abuse. Many of them within the focus groups that was carried out over there to find out what were their experiences in the Caribbean of sexual abuse, had said that their sexual abuse, the initial time that it happened in a parent's or a relative's bed. Now, to just give a bit of a background to that, what the focus group did find out is that because of lack of a lot of housing over there, lots of relatives can live together under one roof and sometimes have to share a bed because there's not lots of rooms and stuff. There's not lots of beds. They can't some families can't afford to get loads of beds or different beds. So what has been the experience of many of the survivors who were part of these focus groups is that they've had to share their bed or share beds with their dads. They've had to share beds with cousins, male cousins, uncles. And what has happened is that they've ended up being sexually assaulted within that bed. And, it makes for quite troubling reading. When I read it, I found it quite disturbing. There was a case many years ago that I had known of where the stepdad was sharing the bed with the stepdaughter, and, she was a teenager and he was assaulting her in the bed. I've heard plenty of stories, especially, throughout all my years of giving talks with different audiences, of adults that have said they've had really good experiences of or memories of getting into their parents' bed, watching TV, eating popcorn, watching films and all that. I think that is a very beautiful thing. But for a number of children out here, I was one of those children as well. A parent's bed is not a safe space. And I do think that, with parents, they have to kind of have some type of boundaries with that. And each parent or parents know, how to set that up within their family. That's not for me to say. Just little things I think of, like, being fully clothed in the bed if your child is in the bed as well. And I think any parent with common sense or with wisdom would do that anyway. So, it's one of those things. But just seeing this post, it just reminded me of my own experience and some of the experiences that I have supported adult survivors in, those that have had those experiences. But it's one of those things because, when it comes to paedophiles and when it comes to those who abuse children, they will find anywhere or any way to try and access that child, whether it's in a parent's bed or in, or during a sleepover or anything like that. So I'm so glad that I've been able to just kind of process that again and not be triggered or anything by it. I just wanted to share that with you, that one child's safe space is another child's fear. Unfortunately, that is the way that it is nowadays. There are lots of children out here who are being manipulated and abused by parents, by adults, and they are using any way they can to be able to do that. But that's all I wanted to share for this video. Until the next one, take care.